What is used to release the fire extinguishing agent in an aircraft fire protection system?
A squib.
A squib, yeah. Let's talk about an autopilot system a little bit. What are the four basic components of an autopilot system? The sensing elements, that's where everything, the autopilot senses information off of the gyros. Now what gyros are we talking about?
The attitude indicator?
Attitude indicator. What else? It's the turn and bank indicator, and what else?
The heading indicator?
Heading, actually it's a directional gyro, not the heading indicator. Then one other element in there as a function of the autopilot.
The altimeter?
Altimeter, okay. So you had the sensing elements, so what are the other components of the autopilot?
The actual computer.
The computer and amplifier. What does an amplifier do? Normally what does an amplifier do in anything?
Amplifies the signal.
Yep, increases the strength of the signal, okay. What's the other two elements of the autopilot?
Command, like what allows the pilot to put like certain commands to the autopilot.
Okay, command element is the inputs that the pilot puts into the computer, okay. And what's the other element?
The servo?
Servos, that's right. That's the output element of the autopilot. You can put them any order you want. Servos, computer amplifier, output element, command element. You have the turn and bank indicator. What axis does that control? The rudder is controlled by the turn and bank sensor, and that's on the vertical axis. So we have aileron, and it's controlled by what transmitter? Aileron is controlled by the horizontal indicator, and it controls the aircraft along the longitudinal axis. And then that leaves the elevator, and it's being controlled by the pitch attitude or the altitude control, and that's about the lateral axis. What are the functions of the computer in the autopilot? What's the computer do? Well, the pilot puts in the information for this in the computer on what he wants to do, depending on the flight axis. But that computer will sense the information from the gyros, interprets that information and sends it to the servos on the controls, so it's going to maintain that aircraft along all of its axes and attitude, altitude, and course direction. A fire detection system should signal the presence of fire. Units of the system are installed in locations where there are greater possibilities of a fire. What are three detection system types? Thermocouple, continuous loop,
Thermal switch.
thermal switch. To detect fires or overheat conditions, detectors are placed in the various zones to be monitored. Name three means of fire detection. The three main ones are overheat detector, which is a thermal switch, rate of temperature rise is a thermocouple, and then you have continuous loop as well as flame detectors and observation by the crew. What are two types of continuous loop fire detection systems?
Manual and Lindbergh.
And what else? Kids know. How is a thermal switch system different from a thermocouple fire warning system?
One's a overheating, one is a rising.
Okay, which is which?
The thermocouple is a rise, and then the thermal switch is a overheating.
Yeah. Two types of extinguishing agents, fire extinguishing agents.
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide.
Halogenated hydrocarbons.
Yep. How many classes of fire are considered possible to occur on aircraft?
Solid combustible materials, combustible liquid, energized electrical equipment, and magnesium burns.
What type of extinguishing agent is found in a high rate discharge fire extinguishing system?
Halide.
Halide. Can instrument range markings be on the glass of an instrument? And if so, what else should be applied? Range markings on an instrument glass, can they be placed on the instrument glass?
Yes.
Okay. If you do that, what else do you have to do? There's a possibility that the instrument glass could move, so you have to put a white slippage mark on it. How are are thermal switch units in a fire detection system wired parallel with each other and in series with the light. Y'all should remember that. You might find that one again. What is a radio system component called that contains both a transmitter and a receiver in one unit? Transreceiver. What is the name of the radio system component that is used to transmit and receive radio frequency waves? Antenna. Now, y'all should review your antennas, point them out on aircraft, what they do, 'cause you may have to do that. When should ELT batteries be recharged or replaced? 50% of the useful life, and what else?
After it's been used for an hour.
Yep. How do you inspect a fire extinguisher bottle for a hydrostatic test date?
It's stamped on the neck.
Stepped on the neck. How long is that? How long are they certified for?
5 years.
6 zones of aircraft that have a fixed fire detection or fire extinguisher system. Those zones are the engine and the auxiliary power unit, the APU, the cargo and baggage compartments, lavatory areas, electronic bays, and the wheel wells and bleed air ducts. What are the 4 main components of a typical aircraft VOR system?
A receiver,
The receiver?
antenna,
Yep,
frequency selector,
yep.
and visual display indicator.
Okay. Where are DME antennas located? Bottom of the fuselage. How does a light refraction smoke detector detect a possible fire? Refracted light from the reflection of the smoke. Why is a temperature pressure chart used when checking a fire extinguisher container pressure?
Because when you're checking the contents, it's pressure, and the pressure changes with temperature.
Yep, you're checking for the container pressure. What is the name of the system found on the rotorcraft that helps to stabilize the helicopter both in flight and in hover? It's a stability augmentation system. What is the rule of thumb minimum distance between antennas? 36 inches. Where should a GPS antenna be located?
On the top?
On the top.
On the top of the aircraft. 2 types of smoke detection instruments used in aircraft.
CO detectors, photoelectric detectors, ionization type detectors, and visual detectors.
Okay. Again, how is a thermal switch system different from a thermocouple fire warning system?
Thermal switch, it works at a specific temperature, and then thermocouple is rate of temperature rise.
How is a KID fire loop sensing element constructed? It's an Inconel tube with 2 wires. When they heat up, there's a resistance between the two. And the Mistor core. Fin wall is similar. It's an Inconel tube. It's got only 1 wire with ceramic beads. Y'all know what the acronym TCAS stands for? Traffic collision avoidance system. Why does turbine bleed air when used for heating the cabin pose no threat of carbon monoxide poisoning?
It doesn't come from the combustion section.
Okay, we're at then.
The compressor.
The compressor, okay, that's right. How are fin wall fire sensing elements wired in relation to the control unit?
Series?
Series, yeah. Transmitters and receivers are connected to an antenna by a cable known as what?
Coaxial.
Coaxial cable, yeah, or a transmission line. What indication may be caused by chafing, nicks, and sharp bends in sensing elements of a fire detection system?
Is there a test switch?
Test switch, that's right. Test switch, what it does is simulate heat in that tube, and if it can't do that, then it would be inoperative, and the warning light wouldn't go off. What protection is provided for the fire extinguisher bottle in case of a temperature rise?
Thermal relief valve.
It's a type of relief valve, but it's actually called a thermal discharge valve. And y'all have to tell me this, there's 2 different colors of disc on the side of an aircraft that tells you whether or not it's been discharged accidentally or if it was discharged due to a fire.
Yellow meaning discharge part.
What was the other color for when it was discharged because of a fire?
The red.
Red.
That's the
Red,
red one.
okay. What 2 radio bands are used in an ILS system?
VHF is one of them.
And VHF is one. The other one is what? UHF. Just a rewording of a question we've had before. When testing a continuous loop fire detection system, how do you know that the sensing loop is unbroken and that the control circuits perform correctly?
The alarm goes on.
The alarm goes off. You may be asked to inspect a magnetic compass. What are you going to be looking for?
Security and defects,
Security, what kind of defects?
make sure it's legible.
Yeah, what else?
Make sure it's aligned properly.
That means you'd have to put it on a compass rose and check for deviations and make
Right.
sure that the deviation card is correct. What's the other thing you need to look for in a compass? If the bezel doesn't rotate inside the housing, what could be the problem? The lack of oil. It may have lost all its oil. Supposedly, it needs to be sent to an avionics person to put the oil in there, but it's generally acceptable that mechanics can replace the oil in the compass. What's the maximum deviation allowed for a magnetic compass?
10 degrees.
10 degrees, okay. Whenever you inspect a ELT, there is a CFR that you must always comply with, and so noted in your logbook entry. What is that CFR?
14 CFR 91.207.
Yep. 91207. Mostly what that CFR covers is inspection of the ELT as well as installation. What time of day should a technician perform the maintenance test of an installed 121.5 megahertz ELT?
The first 5 minutes of the hour.
Top of the hour and 5 minutes after the hour. Where can you find the gyro vacuum system filter? Instrument panel along the firewall, where it's the most difficult place to get to, but you need to inspect it and replace it if necessary. What type of vacuum pump needs an air oil separator? It's an engine-driven vacuum pump that needs an air oil separator. And they call that a wet type pump. How much vacuum is usually required for proper instrument operation? It's about 3.5 to 4.5 inches of mercury. What's the function of a ground proximity warning system?
To make sure you don't get so close to the ground if you don't have your landing gear out.
Or proximity to any object. If you use a chemical tab indicator to indicate carbon monoxide, and these are usually used in smaller aircraft, how would you know that there's an indication of carbon monoxide in the cabin?
The little tab will turn a different color.
Change colors, that's true. What are two situations in which the operation of an aircraft weather radar should not occur? When would you not ever want to turn on the weather radar on an aircraft? Inside a hangar would be one of them. Another one would be when it's refueled. There's a certain amount of static that occurs there. Determine the ambient barometric pressure using a sensitive altimeter. How are you going to do that? You set that sensitive altimeter to the field elevation, and that's going to give you the current barometric pressure. Check for proper range markings on an instrument. You'll probably be given an instrument and a type certificate data sheet, or maybe the manufacturer's manual or maintenance manual, or something that you could reference to make sure that the range markings are correct on that instrument for that aircraft. Do y'all know what I'm talking about, the range markings?
Yes.
Altimeter, speed indicator, oil pressure, things like that. Locate and inspect an aircraft's alternate air static source. If you have that, you'll be given a diagram of, or a maintenance manual of that aircraft to determine where that alternate source is. Locate and identify 3 antennas that are navigation or communications antennas. Check an ELT for operations. Inspect ELT batteries for expiration and location. Identify maintenance procedures for fire detection and extinguishing systems. Your task there will be to find that section in a maintenance manual that concerns fire detection systems in a maintenance manual. Locate and explain the procedures for inspecting carbon monoxide detectors. Procedures are always printed on the back. Inspect the fire extinguisher bottle for hydrostatic test. Inspect the continuous loop fire detection system.